and welcome to Blockbuster Bums. Kick back your recliner, crack open a beer, and let's talk movies. And today we're here to talk about Diamonds Are Forever, the seventh installment of the Bond series. Sorry, I almost said sixth. So yes, this is our last Sean Connery Bond movie. And yes, I keep smacking at a fly because it keeps getting in my face. I'm sorry, I look like a moron. So Justin, would you like to give us a quick synopsis of this movie?
All right, so we've got, once again, sadly, Connery's last go at it. But and it's also another, well, probably the final confrontation with Blofeld, I believe. One of the final, I don't know if he shows up again, but supposedly it's that. But it's got diamonds, lasers, once again, something space-based. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's a classic Bond movie, all about taking over the world, nuclear supremacy, the usual Bond stuff, but it's still a good story.
All right, thank you, Justin. So let's get into our thoughts here right off the bat. Patrick, on your first time watching, what were your thoughts on Diamonds Are Forever?
I thought it was, I don't think people would consider it in the upper echelon of the Bond movies, but I thought it was generally a good time, and I didn't have any particular gripes about it. Just overall, a fun popcorn movie.
Fair enough. Tom, the rewatch, how'd it go for you? What are your thoughts?
I enjoyed it because it reinforced a lot of what I remember as a kid, but I also kind of like the 1970s nostalgia Vegas and all that. So I had fun with it, but I'll agree with Barry. I think it's not the top notch one, of course.
Fair enough. Justin?
My favorite parts of this movie is basically Mr. Winton, Mr. Kid.
Yes.
They were they made the movie for me. I mean, it was still fun to watch, but I enjoyed them the most. So fun ride.
Ray?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I'm going to piggyback off Justin. I feel like Pinky and the Brain were wasted villains, and they really overshadowed Blofeld. So,
Oh yeah.
I really loved the side villains.
I liked this movie as a kid, so I went into it with happy thoughts, and then I was severely disappointed. Not that I would say it's a terrible movie, but I was just kind of down on it. I will agree, the two villains, if they had showed up in a better movie, probably would have been so memorable, it'd be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that being said, gentlemen, shall we get started on our
Synopsis.
our long form synopsis? I guess is the best way to put it. The movie opens with pretty much Bond ruthlessly searching for Blofeld. You don't even see him for a couple minutes. They just show a body throwing people through walls and
That's
things.
all you need to see.
Yeah.
It's just dirty deeds.
Yeah. Yeah. But he's beating up guys and hurting people and all sorts of things looking for Blofeld. I guess as far as entries go, I feel like it was pretty solid.
Yeah, and I mean, to kind of go for a little further into it, it's because of the previous film of Lazenby, who he lost his wife because of
So you come
Blofeld.
on,
So yeah, it starts off with where's Blofeld, and he's going on a tear, and I mean, I think for the first time it really continued into the next movie.
Yeah,
I don't
it was
think
like
it's done
it was
that
almost
until
seamless
this
and
point.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just implied that it's like, hey, your bride just got assassinated, and now it's time to rampage. Like,
But he doesn't say it. He doesn't say that's why.
Yeah,
You just kind of
yeah,
think
you
that.
don't-
It
don't
never
have a
comes
problem
up
with it.
once.
Yeah, it never comes
It
up.
surprises me
No.
how it's never brought up.
the closest thing to it getting brought up is when Moneypenny always makes like little ring jabs or diamond jabs, or
And that's
the
to me, that's a little too soon. My
It-
wife just died. You gonna talk about getting married?
but they're there.
No, I thought so. I thought it was a very poor taste of a joke from her. Like the first time we see her, she's like, "Will you bring me a diamond ring?"
But that's not her
Yeah.
first joke made like that, though.
No, it's not.
So that's
No,
but that's
it's
the
not.
thing.
But it's right after Bond's wife
Yeah,
was killed.
but like I said, we just gloss over that.
Mhm.
But no, but after the little mini rampage in the beginning, though, once again, loved the opening sequence though.
Mm-hmm.
The opening credits and everything, the song, like I'll still listen to the song by itself and everything.
Yeah.
Like I had so much fun just with that even.
I
Like
want
you
to say
said,
that's
like
definitely one of the more popular of the
yeah,
songs.
like and it's been used in like pop culture and so many other clips and music and all. So it was like it was so big that like I said, I remember being a kid, like I got excited to watch it again. Like
Yeah, when you hear that little intro as soon as it starts.
yeah, a little harder than there's like diamonds are forever, and it's like yes, they are. Like it's like
Well, it's the most popular song until the next movie,
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
No,
the
that
next
one's
movie
really
song
good.
is by far the
No,
most
that is
popular.
really good too.
Can
Sorry, go
Here,
ahead.
let me comment on the intro real fast.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was dumb. They had a cat in a couple scenes, weaving in and out of the legs. I was like, what the fuck?
it's a hint.
Is Blofield's cat being hinted at as being the new villain? Bounded by honor and revenge, Bond vs. Blofeld Jr. strikes again. Like that
Yes.
shit, that fucking intro is just dumb as hell.
You know, you want your cat to take revenge if you went down right. Like,
Well, speaking of which,
Well, he wears the real diamonds. I think that
Yeah.
was the reason why they used the cat, because he's
Yeah,
got the
but
real
I mean-
diamonds around his neck.
Fucking
speaking of which, he does catch up to Blofeld very quickly,
Oh yeah.
and then it appears he kills him multiple times in a very short period of time. By the way, the whole mud bath thing, I was completely
That was
dumbfounded by
really
such.
silly, yeah.
well, which one? The one like that they're putting him in the surgery, or the one where like, because I
Like,
think they
when you
did, like to hold him in place because the surgery was so risky and stuff. At least that's how I interpreted what was going on.
I think they were implying that mud formed his face,
Oh, see, I thought
like
it was.
Clayface from Batman.
Oh. See, I thought it was more of they needed something that was almost like clay to hold him in place after like a surgery to like, hey, you can't move, and this is pretty much
I
what
think
we're
you're
going
trying to make it
use.
more
Like,
practical. I don't think they were thinking that at all.
oh, well, that's me thinking too much. Then if I'm wrong, like,
I don't know, but I mean,
it makes more sense.
I just looked at it, I was like, why? Because like I said, like, why are they putting him in a mud bath? This guy's a multi-billionaire, millionaire, or whatever. Like, all these connects in the
Well, it's
world, like
volcanic
best
mud.
doctors, like, yeah, like, but
well, not only that, but then when Bond comes in the room, and he just pulls a gun out of the mud.
And it still worked.
Yeah, is that? I mean, obviously, we're not looking for a ton of realism here, but like we
Right.
just pulled a gun out of a mud bath and shot it.
and it was clearly a trap. Like I said, they knew Bond was on to him and everything. And it's like, oh, you're gonna come here to try to get me during the surgery. Is why he pushed for it on that night and everything. So it's like, Blofeld once again was just a step ahead of Bond.
He was. It
That's
always
all-
is. Always
But
is.
that's the thing is like, there's so many times in these movies where Bond could have gotten got. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's just one of
Yeah.
those things, it's just a big game of cat and mouse.
For sure. I will say though, this during this scene, you have one of my all-time favorite Bond lines, and I'm not going to try an accent because I can't do it. But "Welcome to hell, Blofeld," as he throws him in that like what
I
appears
think
to be
you
like
should
hot
try
lava.
that.
Yeah, and,
I think
Yeah.
you should use the accent anyway.
yeah, and it cranks it up and everything and turns up the heat.
Welcome
Like,
Yeah, I love that line. But speaking of Blofeld, Barry, what do you think of the new Blofeld?
Yeah, it's interesting to get another new Blofeld.
Which is what our third?
Should be
This is
third
our
at this point,
third.
yeah.
Yeah, we had Donald Pleasance, the original, and then Telly Savalas, of course, was in Majesties. And then we get, I think this guy's name is Charles Gray, actually, and he played Henderson in You Only Live Twice, who unfortunately was stabbed in his only scene in Japan. But I think he did a fine enough job. Seems kind of like an interesting choice because you went from two men who at least looked similar in Pleasance and Savalas playing this character to Charles Gray looks nothing like either of these men.
Yeah.
But for what it is, I think he did a fine job. Maybe he played him a little campier than the other two, which I'm fine with. I thought he was a fine character.
I think the plot sets up for the change in actor too, though. Like I really like the whole idea, like just the reconstructive face surgery and all that kind of stuff, and like doppelgangers of him, like who's the real one, voice modulating and stuff. Like I think it sets up the movie really well and all that. And then because we go from all this setup to cut to then it goes like right back to MI6 and everything with like getting the He actually gets the mission to go to Vegas and everything, to go to America and all that. Like, and he assumed Blofeld's gone.
Yeah.
So it's the thing as to where it's like now it just comes around full circle to where like, oh, like,
Well,
ta-da.
M even says it. M says it like,
Now you're done with this mess. You know?
yeah, like
Essentially.
he's dead. He can't do anything anymore or something like that.
Was it just me, or is there now just a different vibe between Bond and M now?
Well, in this movie it begins,
He's
but
annoyed.
the next couple movies it gets much worse.
Yeah, like I don't know. Like it just seems I don't know. It's not the same as it was in the first ones. Like
Yeah,
just
like
the,
M
the,
had
the
his
banter.
back essentially, you know, from
Yeah,
no one talks to Bond the way or whatever. And this one, he seems almost annoyed with Bond.
yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that as well. But I know we brought him up in our little thoughts earlier, but we also have a scene from Wind and Kid and spread in there where they the dentist guy in the desert.
I love these two.
Oh, they are. They're
Like,
good.
just straight up, it is. It's that 1970s henchman and all that, but they're so unassuming. It's like these guys
Yeah.
could blend in any crowd. They're just some normal dudes that wouldn't draw any attention to themselves unless you were like looking at them to rip on them in some way or something like that.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't look at these guys and be like think they're threatening in any way, shape, or form.
You just think they're a couple of weirdos,
yeah,
really.
Yeah,
You're,
it's
you're
like,
just
oh,
the
it's just
background
some weird
character in my
guys.
story of life. That's all you are. Like that's
Yeah.
like so. But then to see like the banter they have back and forth and everything, and yeah, like it's just a different time. Like I enjoyed their characters.
They
Like,
are very interesting characters. First of all, I think obviously they're gay men.
Yes.
yeah, they're definitely a little
But
fruity.
they didn't beat you over the head with it.
They didn't beat you over the head with it, and the dynamic between them to me was very funny. In that, obviously this is a couple. I mean, they're holding hands at one point, but when they speak to each other, they would only refer to each other as Mr. Went or Mr. Kid.
Mr. Kid. Yeah.
And they would seemingly all of their discussions would only have to do with the very thing that they just did. They didn't talk to each other outside of that.
But it was always
Yes.
little joking jabs. Like it's
Yeah.
like they're like they're having fun doing the things they're doing together.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Or
funny
like,
thing.
was it-
We're
was it-
literally watching like a couple have fun on the job.
Yeah, because they were like, there's something
that's
like
what
he
it
said
is,
something like someone like a woman was pretty, and he was like, for a woman.
Yeah.
That's how you kind of
But
knew
dude,
that. Okay,
But
Mr.
when-
Kid was stone
Yeah,
faced.
but
Yeah,
when
he
did?
didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, he's pissed.
Yeah.
Like he's pissed that you brought up somebody else was good looking. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of a cool scene. It's like they're the same way with each other that they are with other people, because you see like their interactions with other people, and they're like very, like Tom said, very stone faced, but they're kind of like got this dry humor going on and stuff. They're even that they appear to be that way with each other as well.
And I guess if you think, I mean, I don't know if they're like psychopaths. Though.
Mhm,
Oh,
they
yeah.
are
It's like
very
that-
much so.
That's all they are.
It's definitely psychopathy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the scene that kills me, and it did get a chuckle out of me, was they go meet I can't remember her name, but the old woman, because they have the diamonds.
The
Oh,
teacher
yeah.
lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, you see her body being pulled out of the water, and he's taking pictures. Mr. Kidd is, and he's like,
canal,
the canal, and he's like, says her name, wants
Mrs.
pictures
Whistler.
of the canal for the kids, but he's taking pictures of her dead body, and I'm like, wow, that's some
Which
twisted
is one
stuff.
pictures.
Yeah.
I
They
think they were
probably could have
underutilized.
done a little more with those characters
Yeah,
to
definitely.
make them kind of a bigger part of the plot and maybe even more frightening as villains.
But see, I kind of like the scarcity of them like that. Like you only see them when they are trying to kill somebody.
And
like
they've got their theme music that
yeah,
that
like you
fluty
said,
thing that
you're
comes
very
in.
aware that this is their time on the film and all that, and like we see them several times throughout it. I mean, it's just a long movie.
Yeah, but
Like
but they got done dirty at the fucking end. That was horrible ending for those two.
Did it
Well,
That
woo!
was
yeah,
Very interesting, yes.
it was.
It was
Bob
like
up the butt.
But that
it was like
I
5
was-
seconds and they were gone. Like
Yeah.
the build up and then the fizzle out was just horrible.
Poor Mr. Kid burning up alive, and just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
just standing
Yeah,
there
they went out really
Frankenstein's
silly. Like those
monster.
guys would not fight that way. They were so efficient
Yeah.
throughout the entire
Yeah, but
movie
but they
until
fought,
that moment.
but they fought goofy the whole time.
Yeah.
Like their plan to put a scorpion down the back of the dentist's shirt, like that would
Hey,
never
that
work
worked.
no, that would never work in real life. That was dumb as
Well,
hell.
it's just the idea that you're just gonna like, oh, I'm just gonna find a scorpion once we get there. But like, man, I feel like if you're a pro, you put a brought your own scorpion. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
you're just
or you
gonna-
could just
you're
shot him in the head. I mean, hey,
like, it's
They like to be creative.
I was gonna say, like, well, they're having fun on the job.
Well,
Like,
'cause
Right.
they planned,
that's
they
what
were
it
going to
is.
cremate Bond alive.
Yeah.
So these guys,
Well, yeah,
was
then that's
cool.
what you see them there too. Like, we really do see them. Like, probably, I would wonder
Well,
if it's like a equal amount of
yeah.
time throughout the movie. To be
Yeah,
honest,
Bond got lucky a lot of times in this movie. Like, these guys had him dead to rights a couple times.
Yeah, I think the only normal kill they had was the comedian.
Yeah.
I think they just shot him.
oh yeah, I love. I love.
He was funny, too,
I
even
love
though it
Vegas.
was
He's just
supposed
standing
to
there
be
with
so
two beautiful
dry.
women talking shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's old school comedy. There's no, like, you're not playing to the crowd or nothing. You're just up there just like, I'm just going to
You've been a
talk
lousy
and just,
crowd.
like,
You've been
you
a
know,
lousy crowd.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Like, I love it. Old school Vegas. Like,
so I guess maybe it's probably worth mentioning, and I could be wrong on this. So the Bond's what he needs to do is track down these diamond smugglers ultimately, and Went and Kid are involved in this, as are the people that they're offing. Correct? So the drugs are being smuggled and they're using these people, but then Went and Kid are offing them as they go along.
Yeah, they're tying up loose ends.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's largely their role in the whole.
they're cleaners.
they're.
Yeah.
I just feel like
Right.
this is Blofeld's version of his henchman.
Right.
Like he's, like you said, he's cleaning up. They're cleaning up loose ends. They're making sure that nobody can tell on him. Essentially,
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the story went on long enough that he had them killed. You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's because that's it. They would be the only two left.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
So, yeah, of course. Like,
You know who they kind of remind me of? You guys ever watch Breaking Bad?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those two Mexican twin brothers. They kind of give me like the goofy vibe of those two.
I
Just
can
go in and murk people and leave.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, we get Bond going into the apartment complex where, then we find out Tiffany Case lives, who has 3 different colored hair in the first 2 seconds you meet her, which is weird. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Like some wigs.
He is pretending to be
Peter Franks.
Peter Franks. Yeah, there you go.
His sense of smell really helped him out a lot in this movie.
Oh, when he smelled the glass.
Yeah,
he
because
smelled
he's
the
like,
stuff on the
because
glass.
when she stole the print, he's like, he knew right then, like, just taking that sip, like,
He started smiling after
yeah,
that.
it's like, hey, it's
Yeah.
smart and everything. Like, that's not the only time in the movie that it helped him out, but because, like I said, the perfume later on at the end, like, it's like, oh, well, I know that odor. Like, it's like, we met before. Like,
So he goes in, meets her as Peter Franks, so that he can get the diamonds. He leaves, and by the way, my favorite scene of the whole movie is his fake makeout session where he has his arms wrapped around himself.
like, if you were the real Peter, you just seen that walking.
It's like, what is he kissing a kid?
Because
see it.
if you were walking up the stoop, you would see him doing that just to himself. You would see there's no.
Yeah,
way.
you
Like,
would.
you're-
Yeah, you'd
you're
already
in
see in
line
front of
with
him before you got
Yeah, so
behind.
you're just like,
he's just something's wrong with him.
This guy's drunk. Like, it's like that's I don't know, weird Italian. I don't know.
It made me laugh when I saw that too.
That elevator scene was intense, though.
I was getting ready to bring up the elevator scene.
Because
Yeah.
it's that slow, like a dummy elevator type thing, to where, like, man, like, just so methodical and all that. Like,
By the way, did anybody else get the elevator fight scene? Did it remind them of the train fight scene and from Russia?
Yeah, because even the guy had sort of a resemblance to. I forgot his name, but it was a slight resemblance to that, and it was that enclosed space fighting, which is actually pretty cool.
By the way, Bond, it was almost cartoonish in the way that he got found out. Like, he goes to punch him and elbows the glass and knocks it out, so the guy turns around and they have to fight. He could have just knocked him out from behind. Like, everybody in the movie karate chops each other in the back of the neck. And like, the movie, we've seen that 100 times in these first 7 or 8 movies.
the most vulnerable spot on a human, apparently.
And Bond goes to hit him in the back and knocks out a pane of glass, and then they have to fight for 10 minutes. I was like, dude, you're supposed to be a secret agent, not a clown.
That's
Come on now.
Bond's thing, though. Like, he gets caught, he gets found out, he tells everyone his name, That's just who he is.
Not
He
so
doesn't
many
care. He's
purposes.
gonna get his job
Yeah,
done
that's
regardless.
what,
Like,
yeah.
Is that confidence? I think it's confidence in what he does. He
Oh, part
knows.
of it is. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever he gets caught, he just goes
He's
with
like,
it and is
yeah.
like, ah, I'll deal with it.
All right.
I like that.
This
I
happened
kinda
last
like
week. I'm good.
that. Yeah, right. In the switching wallets when he actually wins and kills the real Peter Franks, and then like he just switches wallets. And then he acts surprised when Tiffany Case is like, "You killed James Bond."
Is that who that was?
By the way, do secret agents carry wallets with their real identity in it?
I don't think so. They usually have an alias, and they have different identificate. Like it should have an alias on it.
I think it would speak more to like, yeah, the fact that she would even know who James Bond is. Like,
Yeah.
at
Well,
this
it's
point.
his fault that everyone knows. who
Yeah,
James
Well,
Bond
you
is.
walk into a room at this point, you just announce who you are, like, and yeah,
And
it's like,
especially with Blofeld's organization.
yeah,
like,
it's like you're not even. It's not even. A
they all
secret
know
anymore.
who he is.
Like, we even know that you're 007. Like, just like, I mean, come on.
Yeah. At this point,
Because
everybody
even
knows.
even he had to buy into the lie to where like, is that who it was? Whereas like, so even he knew it all. It's like, all right, so it's just you're not even a secret anymore. It's just if we see you, it's kind of like, yeah, we're gonna try to kidnap you and just like let you ruin our plot on sight.
And this is after the whole world was told on the news that Bond was dead, and everybody still knows him.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, they knew when they. I guess the world knew even with his funeral on TV, and he's not really dead.
But speaking of fuels, I love how they smuggle like I guess the fake diamonds and everything
Yeah.
into America with it and all, and with like the old boy that he just Franks that he just killed. So
Mhm.
once again, a little bit serendipity there to where like, yeah, the real one showed up. If I off him, I can smuggle the diamonds in through there, and
Yeah.
it just everything falls into place for the man. Like it just worked and all.
And speaking of smugglers, that once again with a different Felix.
Yeah, when he
this one
showed
was
up
an
and
older
everything,
Felix.
yeah.
He was older.
It wasn't older Felix because I didn't recognize him at first because like when they first started talking until he actually said it, I was like, oh, because I was like, is this guy gonna give him shit? Because he actually asked for the customs paperwork and like the death certificate and all. I was like, was this all forged on spot? Like, how did this happen here? And are you gonna get got? And but I definitely the henchman. You knew that it was a trap as soon as like he gets in the hearse with the dudes and all. And you just hear that like old school gangster talk
Right.
and all that, to where it's like, I got a butter, like it was like, oh my god, yeah,
Oh, and I
you're
think
that
they
Italian,
asked-
yeah, you're in Vegas, you're that Italian mafia guy, to where like, all right, like you're about to get off in some way here,
Right.
my dude,
I,
like,
I think when the driver asked, "Hey, who's the stiff back then?"
yeah, it's like
kinda-
you're using that, like
this guy's not with the
it's-
funeral home.
it's very stereotypical Italian mafia like lingo and all that, to where I was like, all right, like I get what I'm hearing now, like, and you're just waiting for it at the funeral home somewhere and all that, and that's when you see like the guys there like paying their respect and bonk, like just like
so it also caught me, like you were talking about the casket scene when he has to go into like the hangar and like talk to the people about the casket or whatever.
yeah.
We didn't know that he wasn't had because there's a new actor playing Felix. If it would have been an actor we already knew was Felix, when Felix came walking out, we'd have been like, oh, he's saved. But like, since it's a brand new actor playing Felix, we're like, oh, who is? Because this guy's like, hey, go take a break, and like comes out there and like was real serious looking. You're like, oh crap, he's gotten. But we would have known he wasn't gotten if they wouldn't have replaced Felix as an actor every movie.
It was it was until that smirk. It was that little smirk that Felix gave to where like, all right, fine, like, he said it and all, but no, and the funeral home, it's like you were just waiting for it. Like, where's it gonna be? Like that was my whole thing,
Mhm.
and I was like, but then it was like once he's actually in like the incinerator and everything in the casket, I was like, all right, now who's gonna save you? Like that was the thing. It was like, all right, you got. So how are you gonna get out of here and all that? And that's when we
Lucky.
see like, oh, you son of a bitch, where are the fakes? Like just like, or where are the real ones and all that. But no, I really enjoyed like that whole setup too, because he even just kind of like nonchalantly stepped out of the casket and just walked away from and all that. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going back into town. I'm gonna try to find them. Like just like it's like we're both after them, but you guys are on your own.
Yeah, it's a very interesting scene, and like there's so much double crossing going on in this part here.
Because we cut to that to when the henchmen kill the comedian, basically.
They're like, it's so crazy. Like, okay, so
Like,
Bond gets
we're following
double
the
crossed.
trail of bodies, like.
Bond gets double crossed by two different people in the same scene. He gets double crossed by the people at the funeral home, and then he gets double crossed essentially double crossed or taken out by the henchmen. And then he appears to double cross the funeral home people.
Well, from the start, Tiffany Case got him. She gave him fake diamonds in the beginning.
Well, that's true too. Yeah.
So it's like from
Yeah.
he was screwed since the jump. Like.
Yeah. But then the funeral home people save him from what the henchmen do to him because they are double crossed. So essentially, they double cross the henchmen, and then everybody gets double crossed like 4 times in this one scene, one solid scene here. And Bond was completely up shit creek in the incinerator before they realized they were double crossed and pulled him out.
And this was all within 30 minutes of the movie too.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Like, this is just the setup to the nonsense. Like.
Okay, so you go back to Tiffany Case double crossed him. Is that true? Because M has the real diamonds. Or not M, but Q. Q has the real diamonds. So did Tiffany really double cross them, or did Tiffany and Bond together double cross these people? Because it turns out that Q has the diamonds.
I guess then the question would be, does Bond know that Q had the diamonds the whole time?
Yeah, I don't.
Because he never alludes to that and everything, and even she kind of was like, "Oh, they're hidden here. They're the chandelier and all that."
Oh yeah.
So it was one of those things to where I even took it that she believed it, and like they're hidden in plain sight, and Bond seemed to treat them as if they were the real ones. Because if they were fake, I don't, let's be honest. Like I feel like if it was a trap, Bond would be more nonchalant and more like aloof than usual. Like he probably wouldn't give a rat's ass if he knew like they weren't real. Like, it probably wouldn't even been worth his time. So it was more of the fact, like, did they pretty much use Bond then as bait, knowing they were fakes, to kind of draw people out then? Like,
That's
what
very
was the
true.
purpose if M knew?
That might have been Bond. Might have been the bait.
Like, I didn't even think about that. So you
Yeah.
just brought that up then. Like,
Wow.
because like I said, they never show it.
I think we need to figure out the answer to this. I don't feel like we can just leave it here. Like we don't know what happened.
It's going to require a rewatch.
Ready? Pause.
We'll make
All right. So, after much deliberation on and off screen, and much internet searches, and all 5 of us watched the movie, we are not 100% sure where the diamonds are at all times. We are sure where they're at certain times. Tiffany Case and Bond had them early on. Obviously, they're at the circus, and obviously they make it to the satellite. I pointed in the air like people don't know what I'm talking about. But we're not 100% sure how they got to the circus. There's a couple of different options there, and there's some wordplay games between Bond and Felix. There's also a conversation later that says Q had the diamonds at one point. So we're not 100% sure how they got from Bond and Tiffany Case to the circus, and we apologize, but the internet doesn't seem to know either. That's the best answer we can give at this point. We apologize for any confusion or dumbassery that we are
Blame
spreading
the
here.
writers.
Say what?
You can blame the writers. It's not
Yeah.
your fault.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna skip past the diamond switching stuff at the funeral parlor because we've talked about it, and we're gonna go to Vegas casino where Bond briefly talks with Tiffany, or not Tiffany, Plenty O'Toole. She gets thrown out a window into a pool before Bond can sleep with her. And then he sleeps with Tiffany Case. They devise a plan to essentially double cross each other at the same time. And then Tiffany Case ends up going to the circus to get the diamonds, gives the slip to the CIA agents that are working with Felix, and gets away. And then Bond shows up at Tiffany Case's house. Tiffany Case shows up there as well. Plenty O'Toole is floating in the pool dead. The movie does not explain this whatsoever, although there is a deleted scene that explains that Winton Kid killed her because they thought she was Tiffany Case. And then I think Barry pointed out that you're probably supposed to take that as that's why Tiffany Case changes sides, because she realizes that they were trying to kill her to get her out of the way. So then she changes sides to work with Bond. So then the two of them get in a big car chase in Vegas.
Oh, and I love the car chase scene.
Car chase scene was
Not
legit.
just because the car that Bond is driving around in, but one.
That sweet Mach 1.
Yeah, but then you're racing around on the Vegas Strip, and he's just doing donuts in intersections and all that.
And the police reaction is funny.
Oh,
Just
no,
how
yeah,
they're just like,
the
there he
sheriff's
goes
like,
again. Oh,
we
crap.
got
There he
him,
goes
we
again.
got
And
him.
he's just
Like, yeah, it's just up and down the strip and all
like,
that.
what are we
Like,
doing?
And then, like, when he goes down the dead end and all that, and then slips up on two wheels, like,
Yeah, that was
love
good.
That. He's like, hey, hold on, don't panic. Like, just
And
like,
then like they just bumble through the freaking parking lot and then he just
oh yeah, they're
make
like
them all
trying
look
to ramp
stupid.
the same and all that. Loved it. The chase scenes in this movie were great. Like, they probably spent a small fortune just destroying cars.
I enjoyed
Big cars,
the chase
too.
scene too.
Yeah, nice car. Like, well, and not only that, but then we get like, God, the desert chase scene on three wheelers. Like, did that not make you want to ride a three wheeler?
It did. It did.
Like, I just magically became a little kid again. I was like, man, like, find a three wheeler for
Not-
sale now.
Not
Like,
only are they three wheelers, but they're mini three wheelers. They didn't even get full size three wheelers.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's like a little pit bike.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
When Bond ended up on one of them, he looked like a grown man on a child's toy.
Yes.
Yeah, cause, like,
Yes.
he's like what? Like yeah, because Connor's like what 6'4",
6'4", I think, yeah.
6'4", stand up on a mini bike. Like, it's like, dude, you're basically on stilts at this point, just bouncing around in the desert. Like,
Speaking of which, they do end up in Tiffany Case's red Mach 1 at a facility. I don't even know what to call it. It's some type of scientific facility. Bond ends up sneaking in the back of somebody's van and impersonates a scientist and finds out essentially the plot, that they are putting a satellite into space. It's a very I kind of like the scene where he fakes the badge swipe and gets in with the other doctor or scientist or whatever. Yeah. And then gets in, discovers the plot. By the way, have anybody ever heard of a guy that identifies himself as doctor and professor?
Doctor. Well, yes. But I guess it'd be like if you had multiple degrees, and yeah, there's certain titles that go before it. But yeah,
I think you'd have to be a presumptuous twat to
Yeah.
do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
but you can tell that this guy, yeah,
Oh, he thinks for how was it say Metz? Is that
Yeah,
his name?
he's a complete jerk.
like,
Yeah.
it's one of those. But you'd have to. Because like his whole thing is that he wants to end all like nuclear war and all
Yeah.
that. Because like I said, he's working with Blofeld, but he's got that backhanded savior knowledge or whatever. So it's. Yeah, he's like, oh, I know better than the rest of the world type deal. So I get it. You can tell he's kind of a pretentious tool. Like,
I agree. So then you get first off, they're chasing Bond in a space rover. By the way, this caught me off guard. Were they faking a space?
Oh, they were.
The space landing.
Yeah,
Were
it's
they-
weird. It didn't
They
make
were,
sense
because
to
even
me.
while chasing Bond, they're like,
the way I
like, why are you doing that?
yeah, I thought it was like just the suits is what I took it. Like
Maybe they were
Because
so
I know
big that they
they-
couldn't.
they
but
do,
didn't seem
like,
that big.
they have those kind of like facilities in the deserts and everything to make that to simulate what it would be like on like the moon or Mars or what.
They do, but it doesn't affect Bond. So it's not like they turn gravity off or something because Bond just walks through it.
You're not yeah, as I say, it's like it's more like can you move in the suit? What's your dexterity in the suit? Like pretty much like hey, practice on Earth because it's gonna be harder when there's no gravity.
Yeah.
Like if shit's floating away, like can you like as fast as you can, I guess, grab something like and everything like. But I mean, yeah, like I said, it was funny like seeing him move at real speed while they're in these big encumbered suits and whatnot,
Yeah.
just blowing through walls and stuff. Like,
But I thought it was cool. Like it was a kind of change up that him being chased around a space rover or moon rover, whatever you want to call it.
I like it
fun.
because you could totally tell that the cars were reinforced.
Yeah.
Like that was like when you could see those old frames and everything like that. To where like, oh, that'd be so much fun because but you could see which ones were gonna be crashed and which ones weren't just by how they were hitting those bumps. To where I was like, all right, you're gonna mess that thing up. And it was once again they probably spent a small fortune just on destroying cars. Like, probably
Well,
just took them out into the desert and left them there afterward.
by the way, I do want to say this, and I don't mean to be mean, but the special effects, and I say that as in like the old time special effects, they were such shit in this movie. And I read an article that said, okay, so in order to get Connery to come back, they had to pay Connery $1.5 million to make this movie, which we're talking about in 1970. So that's an ass load of money in 1970. I don't know what the translation is to today's money, but I'm sure it's.
My first question was gonna be, what was the total budget of the film?
I don't know what the total budget was, but the article I read.
7.2 million.
So he was literally like a little over like a seventh of that of the whole budget was paying Connery. Like,
Well, that's what they're saying. They said they had to make budget cuts for the scenery and everything because of Connery's salary. Like,
Well, they made 116 million back, so that was a big
Yeah.
for a $7.2 million dollar budget.
shoot, yeah,
That's
your
a
margins
good,
are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, nobody makes those margins on a movie now. Like,
no. But anyway, so then you end up with him escaping after the three-wheelers and the space rover, and he ends up then finding out where, in the the tower,
the penthouse,
the winter tower thing,
White Tower,
White Tower. Thank you.
the White House,
The White House, yes, the White
Isn't that
House.
I love
Willard
that.
White.
Yeah, Willard White, and
AKA
Willard White
Jimmy-
doesn't
Jimmy
even make
Dean.
breakfast for anybody in this whole movie.
I know. Like, Jimmy Dean, where's the sausage?
Oh my God. I love the accent though. I
yes.
walked around talking like him and all that for like 2-3 days straight. Like, I had a blast.
Yeah, just hearing him talk was good.
Baja. You got no property in Baja. I love that. I'm like, I'll watch that again. Rewind. Like,
So he ends up actually he leaves Tiffany Case in her room and gets on top of the elevator and rides the elevator all the way up to the penthouse and then uses like a grappling gun like fucking Batman and climbs up the rest of the way into the penthouse and is immediately trapped. Immediately. Like, in the toilet, actually.
well, and it was like he knew it because, like I said, you've seen where like Blofeld's been watching him this whole time and all that, and then he sits in that seat that has a camera ready for him to be in that spot and all. And I was like, oh, come on in, Bond. Like,
Yeah.
Blofeld is so unworried about Bond.
Yeah,
He's not worried about him at all.
He's not concerned about him at all. Mm-mm.
Then they have, like,
Invites him in, lets him go.
invites him in, tells him he can have a drink. Now he does gas him.
but I love that. He's like, you press L, Mr. Bond. And he's there, and it's like Bond doesn't know what to do. But like just.
Well, yeah, he knew something was
And
gonna
once
happen
again,
to
you
him.
see the henchman toss him in the car, and that's when the perfume and all that falls in and breaks and gets that smell. Like I said, Bond's nose saves him. Like
He
but he ends up in a tube.
he ends up
Underground.
he ends up in a tube underground.
yeah.
Which I thought was a funny thing, and I read into it too much perhaps, but presumably they were going to continue with this underground tubing tunnel structure,
it was just
which leads me to believe that if he would have just kept walking, at some point he would have come out.
You're right, but here's my thing: how long was he unconscious? Because they built like an entire sewer system while he was
I think
unconscious.
maybe that was the last piece. That one that they put him down
it
in.
seemed like you've seen like the tunnel. They just had to put them in place, and they had the arc welder that was going through,
Yeah.
the pig that was going through to weld everything. But I just like you said, 500 yards. Because that's what they said. The pig broke down 500 yards. So that means he had to crawl 500 yards to the hatch
Yeah,
to get out and everything. So that's how far he had to go. So we
But-
know that. He's like, oh, well, I took my rat for a walk. or
that
whatnot.
was a great line. I was taking my rat for a walk and I lost my way.
Yeah.
That was good. I like that. And how he short circuited the welder.
That'd be
Like-
sketchy.
Yeah, very sketchy.
getting on
Or
Getting
even
on
just
the
like
thing?
enough to get like that close face to face with it. Just like, yeah.
Mhm.
That's where I was like, all right, now this is 007 shit. Like,
Yeah, no
like,
kidding. All right, so then he gets out, and then that's when they go. rescue Willard White.
Yep.
So the CIA and Bond go to Willard White's secondary house or
His summer home.
his summer home. Yeah,
Bambi
but
and Thumper?
apparently he's being held captive there by two women who are practicing Krav Maga. I don't know what the hell they're doing there.
Yeah, Bambi and Thumper.
Bambi and
Yeah.
Thumper, yes.
Which I loved.
Which I also thought was funny when they finally beat the women and let Willard White out. He's like, "Oh, I see you met my friends, Bambi and Thumper."
Yeah, so they were there for him at one point.
So anyway, and then he's just funny through the rest of the movie, Willard White. I mean, because when Bert shoots at him, he sticks his head up behind the rock. He's like, "Tell him he's fired," and I'm like, "He's trying to kill you, man." Like,
At that point, he's already dead.
Tell me
yeah, that's true too.
He's
Yeah,
already been in it. Is that who it was? Tell me he's fired.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I just love that accent. Like,
Yeah.
Jimmy Jean being Jimmy
yeah,
Dean.
I'll just hang out. I'll just hang out with you. You don't have to talk to me. Like, I just want to be in the vicinity while you just chew people out. Like, just
So then they take Willard White back. They figure out the entire plot. They figure out that they have an oil rig in the middle of nowhere that they're going to use the satellite in space with some big ass laser to blow things up and hurt people and kill people and so on and so forth. Mass mayhem and destruction, typical Bond movie type stuff. And they do it. Where do they blow up? One of the Dakotas or something? They blow up one?
well, I thought they hit Russia first. Or,
Russia was second because they hit somewhere in the United States and then somewhere in Russia,
Well, I
and
know
then they hit somewhere in China.
I know they hit China because I remember the Russians. Remember they had that line where
Yeah,
like
they were trying to start.
where we talked to each other and everything, where we assured each country assured it wasn't the other, and
Right.
but then they're like no reports out of China had came yet. And all
Yes, yes.
because it was about like trying to meet Blofeld's bid and all that to
Mhm.
stop it. Because remember the scientist, he just wanted to end all war and all nuclear war and all
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Where Blofeld wanted to control
Yes.
and everything. So it was
He's
like
trying to take over the world like he always is.
yeah, and it was just one of those situations and whatnot. But
So then then the CIA and Tiffany Case and James Bond all end up at the oil rig where Blofeld has like a small army.
well, because
As he
remember
normally does.
Tiffany's already on
Yes.
the rig with Blofeld and everything. She's already in her little bikini and whatnot. But once again, Bond purposely gets captured. He parachutes in his little ball. He walks up to the
Yes,
oil rig.
yes.
Yeah, he knew. I mean,
Yeah, and he comes out and
He
he's like, oh, like,
So then essentially mayhem breaks out. I mean, gunfights. Blofeld tries to escape in some cool little speedboat thing. Bond grabs
Bond
it
takes
and then
it.
uses it as a battering ram.
yeah, just like a wrecking ball.
yeah, because he's trying to
smacking
destroy
around.
where the tape's at, and he's trying to.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Cross tries to shoot that gun and falls back.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Tiffany Case is trying to shoot a machine gun, like sprays it all around and falls off the oil rig into the water.
worthless.
Oh yeah, terrible,
Well, she
terrible.
already gets messed up with the tape thing. She's like,
Yeah.
Oh,
Switch
I
the tape.
love
I'm like-
you twit.
Yeah, yeah. Bond had switched the tape so the laser wouldn't work anymore, and Tiffany switched it back, thinking she was helping him. Just mayhem, chaos, ridiculousness ensues through all of this.
Oh yeah, that's when he calls her. He calls her a bitch.
Right.
He calls her a bitch.
He's like,
Yeah.
Or even later on, where it's like you're showing a little more cheek than usual. There.
Yes,
Like-
yes.
Like,
And how does the fight scene end? They end up.
He gets when he throws Blofeld through the thing. That's when Blofeld essentially dies, right?
Well, for the third or fourth time in this movie.
Whichever version of Blofeld this is,
Yeah.
he dies when he gets battering rammed through the wrecking ball. He went in like a wrecking ball.
Did they show him dying though? I don't think they did.
It was just-
they just
it was
showed
just
the rig,
implied and it
they
blew
showed
up.
Because remember,
Yeah.
Bond jumps. Because
Yeah.
I remember thinking this: like, one, if you're gonna jump from that height, you're not gonna dive.
No.
No.
No, because you
No, 'cause
you
you're
hear
just gonna
about people that
smash your face.
yeah, you're just gonna
Break your
crush
neck.
everything. Because you hear about people that jump off the San Francisco Bridge and everything, and you gotta like stay as straight as possible to like go down, and then you parachute out once you're underwater.
Mhm.
Like it's like if you go down any way to where like you bend the spine or something, you're gonna crack
It's gonna
everything.
break
It's like
everything.
landing on concrete.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I remember because he just like do dives, and I'm like, no, like that is a broken neck, my friend. Like that's
So then they get. I assume they get rides back on the helicopters the CIA are
Yeah, 'cause
using.
it just blows up and then cut to now like the big cruise ship and
Yeah.
White being like, if you want, call the captain, I'll have him do circles and all that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. So they
On a
Tiffany
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Bond and
that's how you
Tiffany
know it's the
Case
end.
end up on like a cruise ship for like to I don't know vacation type situation. And who shows up as their waiters but Wind and Kid, and they
They go up
put
the
a bomb on there. They put a bomb in their cake. They
About the dialogue. That's what I love about those two, though.
the dialogue's great.
Because
Yeah.
even so, like I said, that everything's so pristine and they're being so fancy, and Bond gets them by his lack of knowledge of the wine and everything, and just by smelling it, and it's like, it's just one of those things to where it's like it's the banter back and forth that they got.
Yeah.
And I mean, essentially, Kid ends up on fire, falling off the boat. And how does the other one?
Wint gets a bomb up the butt.
Yes.
Oh, between his legs.
Yes,
Yeah,
between
He
his legs,
and
and
then
gets
he's like,
flipped into the water, and he
"Woo!"
blows
He
up.
gets flipped into the water.
Yes. That's not the first time we've seen Bond pull that move where he pulls their hands between their legs and then flips them over.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Wint liked that for a little bit. he enjoyed it a little too much.
So yes, they end up with Wind and Kent end up Kid. Yeah, I can't talk. Sorry, the two of them end up dead. And Bond goes right back to dinner with
I
Case.
still love the last line of the movie. It was like, Bond, how are we gonna get those diamonds from that satellite?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, to where even to the very end, she still wants those damn things. And all that. Like,
So that's the end of the movie. That's the last we see of Connery, and so
Officially.
Hold on, one
Well-
last thing we skipped over.
what's that?
Blofeld is very passable as an old lady.
Oh,
I forgot about that. Yeah, he does dress up as an old lady to
Yeah.
walk
Very
through the
passive.
He
casino.
definitely pulled a Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
but let's be honest, with that facial structure, all right, yeah.
Yeah, he looked like someone's grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
does.
definitely. Yeah, it's a very Eastern European look to you. Like, just like, I can see
Yeah,
it.
that actor has a very distinct look.
Yeah,
He does.
throw a scarf on you and everything. Yeah, I get it. Like,
All right. Well, I think that's the end of our synopsis of the movie. So let's move on to our rankings. Let's go with some simple stuff first. What was the body count in this movie? I have the body count as 1.
Yeah, not very high.
It's just Tiffany
This is-
Case
yeah,
because he doesn't sleep with Plenty O'Toole, and
there's no
there
other
is no
women.
other women.
Yep. It was.
It's just a 1.
Damn,
Connery goes out with a 1 in his last movie.
devastating.
It's a sign of maturity.
So then we have a total of 18 and 7 movies. So not quite 3
Not as-
per movie. So now we go into our Bond girl rankings. So I guess just to start, we can go around the room, see what everybody's thought was. We have Domino at 1 and Honey Rider at 2, Romanoff, Pussy Galore, Kissy, and Tracy, which is weird. Tracy's last, even though she's the one he actually fell in love with.
Yeah.
So let's just go around the room real quick. Where are your thoughts on where Tiffany Case ranks, Tom?
I already know.
Interesting.
Well, Barry, do you have a thought why Tom's thinking?
Well,
do.
pure appeal to me, I'd put her at 1. I think the
Oh, wow.
character could have been better developed.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not there.
But
Oh.
I was like, yeah, justify.
to me,
Yeah,
to me,
like,
she's
s-
more.
sell
To
me on
me,
this,
she's
Barry.
more woman than girl. Some of the others
Well,
are
Pussy Galore was more
girls.
woman than all of them.
Yeah, Pussy
I
was
think.
a little too close to matronly though. Whereas to me,
So you-
Tiffany Case was,
So you're saying
hit that sweet spot of,
like a
yeah,
mature
you're not in your
femininity?
early 20s, but you're also not going on 50. You know what I mean? So that has appealed to me as a middle-aged fella.
You're still likable. Like,
But I also
Just a
recognize
tad bit
that
of
that's gonna be the odd perspective on it. So I'm sure I'm the only one who would place her there.
that high, yes.
man, yeah, I didn't expect 1 from you, Barry.
What do you think, Justin?
I actually have Tiffany Case as number 4. I was back and forth between 3 and 4, but I think Romanova's edges her out just slightly.
That's the same place I had. I debated between 3 and 4. I ended up with her at 4. Is where I ended up as well. Ray?
I think I'll put her at 5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're below Pussy Galore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Tom, back to you, buddy.
I'll put her above Kissy.
Oh, so also 5. So we have 2 4s, 2 5s, and a 1.
So it's obviously not going to be 1.
I figured as much.
So once again, this
So pretty much we're kind of arguing whether she's prettier than Pussy Galore or not.
Well, she's by far prettier than Pussy Galore. She's not as distinct of a character because they kind of did her wrong. She started out really good. She started out almost kind of like the red-haired gal from no, I can't think of it. Doesn't matter. But she started out as smart and
She was
a good character, but then she just kind of turned into a bumbling idiot.
She
Unfortunately,
turns into like a damsel in distress.
I will say,
Yeah.
her character does kind of devolve.
I mean, when you first meet her, when she's like fingerprinting Bond and doing all that stuff in secret, I mean, that's pretty good stuff.
She's awesome.
Like, she's extremely capable.
Yeah.
So that
But
was
Pussy Galore was extremely capable. I mean,
Yeah.
she was running her own company. She was, doing all sorts of things. So I assume you can move Tracy and Kissy down, Ray, because we've all established she's prettier than them.
Okay.
So Tracy will move to 7 and Kissy will move to 6. So since Barry has her at 1, guys, and we have her at 4 and 5, can we? I mean,
Does that mean she just since
Does she
Barry?
just go 4 then?
I was gonna say,
Since
does she go
Barry-
4?
Since Barry's number's the closest to that, is that how you want to rank that?
How does everybody feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
Your 1 pulls her up from 5
It's a bit
into.
of a consolation for me.
Well, because then it'd be the same if somebody gave somebody a really low ranking and the Brazil's like, all right, so we meet at the.
I mean, nothing against Pussy Galore nor the actress that played her,
She's
but it's
amazing.
undeniable
Nothing personal. here,
that
right?
Tiffany Case, I think her name was Jill St. John, more attractive woman than Pussy Galore. I mean, we agree on that, correct? Just the
Okay,
looks
yeah.
alone.
She's an amazing pussy.
All right, so we're going with 4. So Pussy Galore goes to 5, and Tiffany Case is now 4. Now, while Ray's putting that on the list, now we discuss movies. So we're going to rank our movies. Right now we have Goldfinger at 1, Thunderball at 2, Dr. No at 3, From Russia with Love at 4, You Only Live Twice at 5, and Her Majesty's Secret Service at 6. I'm just going to go ahead and get it out of the way. I have this movie at 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at too. Like, I remember, I like going through what we have now. I like You Only Live Twice better than this movie.
Yes,
And-
very much so.
Yeah. So
I don't even think it's particularly close, personally.
right.
I think it was just an overall better movie.
Yep.
I'm going to differ in that this movie was kind of a mess,
Yes.
but it was a lot. I thought it was fun.
It
It was
fun.
more fun to me than, and these are better movies. I won't pretend they aren't. From Russia with Love is a better movie, and You Only Live Twice is a better movie, even just for cinematography alone. But I had more fun watching Diamonds Are Forever, so I'd place it at 4.
Ooh.
Wow. I don't know. I think
I don't know about
I think From Russia with Love, even though it's probably last in those 4 movies,
it's the more.
I think it's in a
different.
different. I think it's in that class. Like, it's in a different class than all the rest of the Bond movies, not just this one. Like, personally, I just think From Russia with Love is it would take something ridiculous to get it out of the top 4.
it seems From Russia seems like a true spy movie,
Yeah.
and it was definitely more serious than all of those. Yeah.
So I guess we haven't heard from you, Tom. What are your thoughts?
It's above His Majesty's.
Yeah.
So 6.
Yeah,
6. Yeah.
because that's like my thing too. Where I really enjoyed it, but like I said, if we're gonna rank it on like like you said, as a spy movie and as the movie is put together, and just special effects, I think are done way better in From Russia as well. Like I said, just compare the way the helicopters blew up from in Russia to the way the helicopter blew up in the desert here. Completely different and everything you can see in production value and how it was
Yeah.
done.
The production value in this movie is terrible.
It was one to where I don't know. I like the cinematography better in From Russia and all that. Now I like the nostalgia of 1970s America way better, but that's just me being me. Like,
Yeah.
I
Well, I
know
mean, this
that's-
movie was super
like,
70s.
yeah,
I mean,
and
there's no
that's-
doubt about it.
And I love the 70s era America. Whereas, like I said, I love this, like the style, the hair, the way people like are acting, the cars, like it. Like I said, but I had to overlook that at myself, and I was like, all right, what is the movie itself? And yeah,
So
All
it
right.
sounds like where we're landing is it's above Majesty's, but nothing else.
That's where the 4 of us had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. Hey, this is a democracy in here. So,
Think about how good would the movie be if you took away Wint, Kid, and Jimmy Dean.
It'd be terrible.
It would be a terrible movie. I think those 3, especially Wint and Kid, made the movie.
there'd be too many plot
Like,
holes.
Or what?
really,
Or what if
really-
Lazenby
it-
would have returned as Bond?
Well, first off, without Winton Kid, if you got rid of those, you would never have known you. As little as we can follow the diamonds now, you definitely wouldn't be able to follow the
If you
diamonds.
just took like
Yeah.
some regular, henchman number 1, henchman number 2.
Yeah,
It didn't really have a personality. They were just killing people. It would be terrible.
Yeah, but like I said, I think we got just enough of them throughout the movie, and I like how we basically and I do like how we end with them. Like,
Yeah, they were more interesting than Blofeld himself, the
Yeah.
leader of the entire of Spectre.
Yeah.
It pales in comparison to Wint and Kid.
probably the quirkiest characters up to this point
Yep.
in the movies. Yeah.
All right. Well, we appreciate you tuning in and listening to our rendition of Diamonds Are Forever here,
It
guys.
was almost as messy as the movie itself.
It was.
comment below if you know where the diamonds are.
Yes, exactly.
They're still up Peter Frank's ass.
Yeah.
And we would appreciate you tuning in next week for our Live and Let Die. We are moving into Roger Moore.
And probably the best song of all the movies. So
Yes, definitely.
Definitely iconic.
yeah.
And thanks for listening to Blockbuster Bums. We're finally fucking done.
Oh my